Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breaking Barriers, a webinar from the PGMOL. We're all really excited about sharing so many fascinating stories and experiences with you. The focus of this discussion today will be around working in football and careers within refereeing, hearing from some truly inspirational people from within the game. But before we get going, here's Mike Riley, MD of the PGMOL, with a few words to welcome you all.
Thanks, Dan, and a huge welcome to everyone joining us for the latest Breaking Barriers session, which will focus on those who are making a big impact in the refereeing industry across various roles and responsibilities. At the PGMOL, we are keen to show there is an ever-growing list of opportunities within refereeing, both on and off the pitch. We want to see more diversity in every area of football and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to get involved. So I'm delighted that we have such great guest speakers with us today to help us underline the message and also pass on vital advice and guidance. So a big thank you to Chris and Deryll for giving up their time to share their stories, their advice and experiences. We are lucky to have them in refereeing. Chris, who I've been lucky to work with on the Premier League for many, many matches, is also part of the PGMOL's Inclusiveness Advisory Group. The IAG's goal is to put equality, diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything that we do, to listen to our communities, and to make sure that, step by step, our people are reflective of all of our communities. In Deryll, we have a young referee already making fantastic strides at the beginning of his journey. He demonstrates the importance of volunteering and giving back to the refereeing community, and is now working for the London FA. This session is another good step forward, and I really hope that you will learn from it, spread the word about getting involved in refereeing, and join us again going forward. Dan, thank you for leading the discussion today. We're looking forward to listening and learning from these super people. So back to you.
Without further ado, let's introduce today's special guests. First up, it's Chris Foy, former Premier League referee and PGMOL Head of Community and Public Engagement. Chris, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm very well indeed, thanks.
Looking forward to chatting with you. I was just saying before we came on, I don't remember anything too bad against my team, Aston Villa, so I can look forward to talking to you with no ill will whatsoever.
I'm feeling really cool now. I can relax.
Yeah, times. Also with us today, we've got Deryll David, who is a referee development officer. Deryll offers a fantastic insight into the power of volunteering. As an experienced teenage referee at the beginning of his journey, Deryll successfully applied for a role on the RAFA Youth Council. And after being part of this group for 5 years, 2 of which he served as chairperson, Deryll is now the referee development officer for the London FA. Deryll, a pleasure to have you on with us today as well.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
I guess I should introduce myself as well. I have absolutely no background in refereeing whatsoever, but I do spend most Saturdays shouting at them wherever Aston Villa are playing. I'm a broadcaster for The Athletic and Who Scored, and I'm really looking forward to chatting to you both today and actually learning some stuff myself, because just in preparing for this, I've actually learned there's a lot more going on than you would actually think with refereeing, a lot more career paths than you would perhaps expect. So I'm looking forward to chatting to you both. I guess to start with, Chris, how did you get into refereeing? What made you want to become a referee?
It was quite interesting, really. My dad was a pretty good footballer at semi-pro level, and when he finished, he took up the whistle. And to be honest with you, I wasn't a brilliant footballer myself. And he said, "Why don't you take up the whistle? Give it a go." And I did. And I'm here to tell the story, as they say, a long career.
Yeah, that's something I share with you, not being a brilliant footballer. I can definitely relate to that. And Deryll, same for you. I guess you're like midway through your journey or just at the start of your journey. Where do you see yourself progressing? Have you got any ultimate ambitions that you want to achieve?
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say I was bad at football. I think I was all right at football, but probably everyone else thinks I was bad at football. But I was quite fast, and still am quite fast. And I got to a stage where I wasn't really enjoying playing as much as I thought as I had done in the past. So I gave refereeing a go, and then just sort of never really looked back. And I think now, after being involved in refereeing in so many different areas, voluntary, now obviously in a paid role and in a job and a career, and also refereeing myself, I think you can see how far you can go, and obviously it's great to be able to have a chat with someone like Chris who's been there at the top level. But things like that, I think we all, when we get to a certain stage, think actually I could do that. So,
how important was the volunteering for you, Deryll?
do you know, I think it's given me an opportunity to really see the work that goes on behind the scenes and really understand and really care about what I do. And you know, I think had I've not done some refereeing volunteer, obviously you mentioned about the Rafa Youth Council and stuff like that. If I hadn't done that sort of things, I think it wouldn't have equipped me as well enough for the role. I mean, this is my second time as an RDO. You know, I've and I think that massively equipped me to be able to understand the different strands in referee development.
And Chris, everyone will recognise you from the Premier League refereeing on the pitch. Can you just talk to us a little bit about what it is that you do now, what your role entails?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dan. Yeah, I'm head of community and public engagement for PGMOL, and there's sort of three parts to my job. But with the strap line of it's about improving the perception of our match officials. So we've got a bespoke schools program. There's a lot of media work involved, and it's also working with the football family. And if I break them down bit by bit, we actually have a schools team within PGMOL. We've got bespoke schools presentations where our match officials are going into schools and talking to young people. We do a lot of work with the Premier League Primary Stars, the Premier League Charitable Fund, and the FL Trust. So we're out there, telling our story. And of course, a lot of the time you've got to do that in the media. There's a lot of media responsibilities with the role I do as a referee expert, guiding the media down the refereeing route and let them have a better understanding of the law. And the last bit really is working with the football family. Pre-COVID, a lot of fans forums, getting out and talking to fans around the country, both at clubs individually and at regional forums, and letting them make some decisions and actually have a taste of what it's like to be a referee. So lots to it, lots to go at. But as I said at the very beginning, it's about improving the perception and letting people understand more about refereeing and how difficult the job is.
What I think that's great is that you finished obviously refereeing at the highest level, but then you've stayed within refereeing and stayed within the PGMOL. Did you always have one eye that was what you wanted to do?
I wasn't too sure when I finished. I knew when I wanted to finish and it was the right time. This opportunity came along and I thought, you know what, it's a really good fit for me because in a previous job, I'd done a lot in schools and there was a real sort of energy and a real appetite from young people who wanted to learn about refereeing. And I thought to myself, this is something we could do in PGMOL. And Mike Riley and I sat down and discussed this, and it's been really, really successful. And through the power of social media now, you can actually see what our match officials are doing day in and day out when they're going into schools and talking to young people. There's a real energy about it. It's something that really brings a smile to my face. I really do love it.
Yeah, and it's great for you, Deryll, I guess, that you can see someone like Chris, who obviously, as I say, has refereed at the highest level, is now still continuing his career. That must be quite inspiring for someone like you in your career.
I think it's interesting, and weirdly, I remember thinking back on Chris's last game, and memory-wise, I think you and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, I'm pretty sure the players at the end of the game sort of came up to you and sort of congratulated you, on probably on your last game. And I remember thinking the commentators even commented on it. And I remember thinking that's quite rare for a match official, although, it happens sometimes where a match official drops off and, retires and all that sort of stuff. But it was quite interesting to see that that they made a comment about it. And it would probably say how respected Chris was. So seeing that at a level of respect on the pitch, it makes sense for someone to have an opportunity to continue doing something inside of football, but outside of the pitch. And I think that's the worry, is that, you might do 25 years on the pitch, but what's the journey after that when your legs give way or when you're not able to continue? And I think this role, and it seems to be there's more roles now than ever in the backgrounds of refereeing, the runnings of match officials, the engagement as Chris's role is, and all these sort of things, and it's really good to see, really.
Do you know how many games you officiated in the Premier League, Chris?
I don't know the exact figure, but I think I refereed just over 650 professional matches. So there was obviously a lot of Football League games in there, League Cup, FA Cup ties, Premier League. So there's a fair few to reflect on, let me tell you.
Yeah, definitely a good innings. A few cards dished out in that stint, I'm sure. I guess the main thing we want to get out of this session, I think, is that there is more than simply refereeing. There's making steps up the pyramid. There's a lot you can do as a career with the PGMOL. Deryll, I kind of asked you this earlier. Have you got any ambitions of where you want to go?
Yeah, I want to progress as high as I'm able to progress, and I think that's developing each year upon each year upon each year, and I think it really does put a motivation in. And currently I'm a level 4 match official, and this year I'm hoping to progress to level 3, and I think it's important that refereeing, when you're refereeing, you do have a passion for it, but also that ambition to progress has helped push that passion on as well. So really, yeah, I'm looking to progress as high as I can, whether that's the Premier League, the Football League, even the National League, whatever. I'm the best to be able to officiate at. I want to be able to look back and say I did the best I can and I progressed to the highest level I could.
And as you're developing, is there plenty of courses and qualifications that you do?
So I think now, especially, there's never been a better opportunity to have development and to gain development. And it's one of them things where I think you've got FA Core, you've also got the other side, the CPDs that TFAs put on, as well as the FAs, FA sort of online education. So I think nowadays there's so much opportunity to be able to develop and learn. Both in your house, on the pitch, outside, all these different training sessions. So, and
I guess what your career is now showing, Chris, is that you can always develop. There's not necessarily ever an end to the journey, because you can continue developing and you can continue doing more. Are you finding now that you're doing more courses and qualifications, or is it just a case of the day-to-day you're learning on the job?
There's always lots to go at. And just come back to what Deryll was saying. Then when I refereed my first ever football match, I bought a kit and refereed a football match. Didn't do it very well and was left sort of lost. Now there's never been a better time to be a referee with the support that's in place. Mentoring schemes, county FAs, referee development officers. It's all there for you. The other thing, when you talk about qualifications, one of the things I'm involved in with Dan Meeson at the FA, myself and Adam Kenton and Dave Horlick, is the player to referee pathway. So when you talk about qualifications, it's working with players now from the PFA on the player to referee pathway. So that's getting current and former players into refereeing. So we're out and about putting these courses on. We've done 2 now, which have been really successful. And it's about giving an opportunity, as I said, to former and current players, an opportunity to take up the whistle, which is not a qualification for me as an individual, but it's certainly a qualification for players, which is a really exciting project.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What's the uptake been like on that from former footballers and current footballers?
Well, we've done 2 courses. I think we've had 20 who've attended, and we've actually got a player now who's ex Port Vale, who actually came and spoke at the last course we ran at Warwick University, who is refereeing, and he's refereed over a dozen games now, and he's doing very well. He's shown a lot of potential. So this is something that's not really been done before, and we're really pleased about this. And we're really looking forward to taking it on again and hopefully get more courses running and more players, as I said, current and former, into refereeing. So again, it's another angle for people to get into refereeing. Really exciting times, something that I'm delighted to be involved with. It's really, really good.
Yeah, that feels like a massive step forward, Deryll, because over my years of being a football fan and following football, you have so often heard people say, well, why don't former players get involved? But for them even now to have a way of doing it and have a pathway, that's really encouraging.
I think it's always beneficial to get a player's insight into refereeing, and now the fact that players are being encouraged to referee and to even just think about the pathway and think about that aspect of refereeing, because we've got a situation now where we can make sure that our refereeing community is as diverse as possible, and that should be with as many different types of people with a varied knowledge in playing, refereeing, coaching, all these sort of things, which is only going to help make the refereeing standard stronger.
Yeah, that diversification, Chris, that's a really important topic that Deryll's touched on there. Have you seen an improvement in that in your time with the PGMOL?
Yeah, I have, and it's really exciting times ahead. I mean, Sam Allison obviously now is refereeing on the Football League and doing a fantastic job. I mean, he's got a great smile. He loves what he does. He speaks very well. He's very confident, and he wants to succeed, and that's great. And I'm always a great believer. I mean, I'm sort of registered with Liverpool County FA, a very diverse city. You can see all the work that's going on there, and football, is for everyone. It's what it's about. It's where we are today. We need people from every background playing football. We need and we also need people who are refereeing football and officiating. Let's get everybody involved because it's a game that we all enjoy. It's our national sport, and everybody's got a part to play. It's just such exciting times. And as I said, the support there now is for everyone. It really is terrific.
Yeah, the key message really at the moment in the world actually is that football is for everyone, especially with the recent campaigns that have been going on. Deryll, I guess one thing that people might see as a blocker for getting involved in refereeing and all the stuff around officiating would be that you feel like there might be some barriers and that it's a career where you can have lots of setbacks. Has there been anything that you felt's ever set you back, and how have you recovered from that?
No, I think. I think I'm lucky enough to never want to just I've never wanted to just stop refereeing, because I think from my point of view, I've always loved it. I've always enjoyed it. I've always been able to try and dust myself off as best as I can. But I've also needed that support sometimes when nowadays we've got even being able to do things like this, but. We've got YouTube. There's more Sunday League games that are filmed than ever before. When I first started refereeing, if you got filmed, it was a real luxury. Now it's pretty much every game that you go to. So it's very easy to be able to see the situations where either you could improve or you've got a decision wrong or something like that. And being able, that pressure of knowing that people might see that decision again is a big thing, really. And I think you kind of have to get very well equipped. And I think in a way, the roles that I've held have helped me prepare for that. But also some of the refereeing colleagues that I've got around me and the support network that I've got have also been able to help me bounce back from situations where actually I go back and think, okay, maybe I could have handled that better, or that decision was incorrect because of X, Y, and Z.
Is it important for you, Chris, to be a mentor and act as a mentor to people who might be discouraged, people who are making their way, finding their way with this career and have things go against them? How important is it for you as someone who's been there and done it at the highest level to mentor people?
I think having experienced it after my first ever match, when I went into the change room and a manager came in and threw me fee on the floor and told me I wasn't very good. And I was at a crossroads in my career after one match, and I'm thinking, goodness me, do I carry on? And I had the good fortune to be able to go away and speak to people in football who said, you've done your first game, you've actually stepped across that white line, you've refereed a match, and you've had a rough afternoon, which was being kind, to be honest with you. And it was to carry on. I mean, the beauty of it for me now is being able to go to matches and watch referees and just not be critical, not get a pad out and make a load of notes, but just support. Cajole, put an arm around a shoulder and help them, because people do need support. Because refereeing is not easy. We're all referees. Fans will sit in stadiums and people are at home watching it on TV and we go, he's got that wrong, she's got that wrong. It's not like that. I think it's having the ability just to say, you can probably improve here, do this, try that, and you can make a difference. And for me, it's about passing on the experience, because for whatever mistakes referees make these days, I'm sure I've made them along the way, and you've not got to be frightened of making mistakes. It's about learning from them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've got a shirt behind me of one of the best ever referees, Sergio Ramos, top referee. He's reffed a number of games, hasn't he, Sergio, over his career? Yes, I thought I'd throw that in behind me. I actually feel, Chris, like this season, there's been something's changed between fans and referees and just communication in general, and just the level of refereeing. It feels like it's in a good place and that something has really changed this season. I don't know why that is. I'm hoping you're going to tell me. But as a football fan, I just feel like something's clicked.
Yeah, I think there was a shareholders meeting and everybody was consulted in March time. And then, of course, we had the Euros and people enjoyed what was happening in the Euros with regards to refereeing. And, of course, that was already in place this season for our football, and I think we've seen that lighter touch. I think we've seen the games flow, and I think the referees have only got involved when they really have to. And I think we've had the opportunity as well to communicate a bit more with the media and explain things, because obviously at the start of every season there are law changes that need to be cascaded down. And I've enjoyed football this year. I really have, and I think fans have, and everybody's talking about it in a positive light. Yeah, we've got VAR, and everybody's got an opinion. That's what football is. Everybody's got an opinion. If a decision goes for your team, fantastic. If it goes against you, it's the wrong one, isn't it? It's always the way. But what I think is that the referees have gone about the business the right way, and it's what the clubs, the fans, and the shareholders expected. So what we're talking about now is delivering, as match officials, and that's exactly what they've done.
There's someone making their way in the game as well, Deryll. That must be really encouraging, because it does just feel more human. This season, I know VAR is still involved, but it just does feel more human, and that lighter touch has really helped.
I think society's changed in the last 18 months with the pandemic and the lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. And I think there's a greater acceptance for things are difficult, and understanding that things are difficult on a wider scale will help people understand things can be difficult on a lower scale. I would say, I think, and this is some of the difficulties that we face at the lower levels, at the grassroots levels, at the semi-pro levels, where sometimes people are a bit, particularly the behaviour of some of the players can influence whether referees want to continue and not. And I think at the top level, it seems to have really improved in regards to we don't really hear much where they're really slating a referee on match of the day or something like that. But also there's a lot more importance at the lower levels to be able to referee at a good standard and do things well and do all that sort of stuff, and try and bring that same level of standard at the top level to the grassroots level and semi-pro. And I mean, Chris alluded to it earlier about support and all that sort, and support and having an arm around the shoulder. And I think nowadays there's an understanding about that kind of needs to happen a lot more to match officials, to help match officials realise that they are not alone in that journey. And that's part of my role at London FA. But we've got an army of volunteers that give up a lot of their time to be able to do that.
Yes. Does that lighter touch then, does that filter down to the grassroots level? Does it when it gets implemented at the highest level, does it make its way all the way down?
I think yes and no. I think we're at a stage where there's a lot of football going on at the lower levels, more football nowadays now than ever before. And behaviour, particularly when we came out of the pandemic, behaviour was pretty tough. There was a lot more cases that particularly us at London FA were dealing with, and our discipline team were working really hard to be able to try and ensure that cases were investigated where they needed to do so. And I think now we're at a stage where I would say the behaviour is getting there, improving. And I think when people watch their role models at the top level and they see that behaviour is improved, there's not as much real aggressive shouting at referees. That does cascade down. But I think, and sort of going back to something that Chris had mentioned with the player to ref bit, I think relationships between leagues and clubs and referees is in certain areas improving, because they're realising how difficult it is to officiate. So they're understanding that they're not always going to get it right, particularly at the lower levels where people are learning and they don't have VAR, they don't have assistants, they don't have fourth officials, they don't have microphones, they don't have buzzer flags. There's a lot less. It's literally the referee and their whistle.
Chris, how important a series is like this Breaking Barriers series in giving refs across all levels a chance to communicate, a chance to talk with each other, a chance to talk to someone like me, who pretty much I'm learning here, talking to you both. How important is it to get that wider audience and get these conversations going?
It's massive. As I said before, football and refereeing particularly is for everybody. I'm involved with the Liverpool Homeless Football League. where we get people in, off the streets who are homeless. We get them involved in football. They have a go at refereeing, and it's about educating. And Deryll's right. I think we can't do it on our own. We need people to help us. I think one of the things that gets levied at referees, and I think it puts a lot of people off, is abuse of refs. And what we're saying is that a referee problem, or is that a society problem? Or should clubs take a responsibility? Because we don't want to lose referees. We want to entice more referees into the game and enjoy their football. But as you say, it's the county affairs have referee development officers now. It's important that we get out there and attract more people to refereeing, because I look back on my career and think, wow, how fortunate was I? I was realistic. I knew where I could get to and didn't have aspirations to get somewhere that wasn't physically possible. So it's important for me as well, as a former Premier League referee, to actually market refereeing and get out there and talk to fan groups and talk to ex-players and talk to the media, and do a lot of this through social media as well, because that's where we are now in society. A lot of young people look at their phones and what have you with various stuffs with Twitter and Instagram, and we've got that up and running at PGMOL. So we're looking to get more people involved, and the more we can get involved, it can only be better for where we want to be.
Have you got like a moment where you thought, Chris, I've got a chance here of becoming a Premier League referee? This is going to happen. Do you remember the moment?
Do you know, it's really weird. I got on the Football League at 32, and I had 4 years, and I thought, I've got a chance of getting on the Premier League. And after my fourth season, I thought, I've cracked it. This is me. This is my opportunity. And I didn't get on, and I had to do another season, which was my fifth, obviously, and had to sort of re-examine the way I was refereeing, why I'd missed out, what it was that was missing out in my game. Work hard, talk to people, and one of the things I did was I spoke to people who weren't in refereeing to get a different viewpoint, different walks of life, and I thought that was really important. Then, obviously, season 5, I was promoted to the select group of referees, which was a fantastic achievement. But I'd certainly served a long apprenticeship that I'm not critical of, but I learned a heck of a lot on that journey. I certainly did.
And Deryll, I guess that's encouraging for you to hear that Chris had that setback, didn't let it stay in his mind, worked hard, and got himself to where he wanted to be.
I think it's really good to hear that, and what it's great is because even now it's more relevant than ever. So we encourage our officials to talk to people outside of refereeing to be able to understand. Even me personally, I've done it this season. I swapped supply league from the Spartan South Midlands to the Essex Senior, and I sort of was discussing with clubs, not even necessarily anything to do with the games that I'd maybe refereed for them, just what they like in referees, what they want in refereeing, and all that sort of stuff. Because if you cater to that audience, where we've got to understand that players are very important part of the game, and without the players, we're not going to be refereeing the game. And equally, without the referees, the players aren't going to have a safe game to be able to have. And I think talking to people outside of that refereeing circle does help us with education and being able to really help our performances. And and that's something that we encourage, especially, and it was actually brought up last night at a referee dinner that I was at, where talking to people is so important.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about the refereeing dinner. I'd like to hear about that. What's a refereeing dinner?
I'll tell you what, and I do. We've got another one. We've got quite a few. I mean, at this time of year, it's just a good opportunity to get with other match officials. Some that you might not even meet. We're in a group chat. We've got one at the Barnet Sunday League next week where we're literally going out for a meal. Last night, I think we went out for Greek last night. We're going to have Greek next week, where we're just going and we just have a chat about what we do and our experiences, and just really highlight that social aspect of refereeing, because I think that's the thing. Some of my really good mates are involved in refereeing, and that I've gained through football, and through the Rafa Youth Council, through work, through just refereeing. So, being able to sit down at a meal and just have a discussion about the league and have a discussion about everybody's experiences is a great opportunity, really.
It does sound like a good community, and it feels like there's a lot going on, and you can continue your professional development, but you can also there is that social aspect. You've got people you can lean on. You've got people you can talk with. Can you talk us through some of the off the field benefits, Deryll?
I think, and we've just touched on one with the social aspect of refereeing, and I think the thing that people don't fully understand when they first come into refereeing is how much transferable skills are actually in refereeing, and being able to understand that the confidence that it gives you on the field can be projected off the field to be able to help you. I mean, we tutor. I mean, the referee, you can take a referee course from when you're 14 years old. And if you're 14 years old and you've got the opportunity to be confident and to communicate and to lead a team and to lead people's safety and to understand the laws of the game and revise and all that, that can be changed into lots of different things. University degrees in regards to revising. So you're from 14 years of age, obviously you're at school, but also you're revising another skill. Being able to have confidence and communicate is always going to help you when you go for job interviews and go for opportunities that, internships and all that sort of stuff. Again, being able to volunteer in refereeing gives you that opportunity to understand how things work and develop the skills and work with people who you wouldn't normally work with. I mean, there's people that I've worked with in both my roles as an RDO in the AFA and at London, where I worked with barristers, lorry drivers, bus drivers, restaurant owners, people who own their own businesses, financial brokers, where actually little things you can tap out of them people to be able to learn yourself. And actually, if you think about a refereeing community having lots of different types of people, that's a massive network that you can do. I mean, I think even the Rafa Youth Council, that it's a massive and so it was a massive opportunity to be able to learn about meeting structures, developing plans for referees, meeting other referees, meeting RDOs, meeting county FAs, understanding the difference between the north, the south, the east, the west, and learning about culture. So I think there's so much in refereeing that you can benefit from. And that's just thinking about some of the transferable skills. When you think about the fitness, the money, the experiences of going to different grounds, the participation in some of these absolutely unbelievable competitions that have so much history behind them, the FA Cup, the FA Vars, the FA Youth Cup, then you go into the League Cups and you go into the County Cups and you see the histories of some of these where they have 100 years of people who have played and all that sort of stuff. So there's so much.
Any events or secret refereeing WhatsApp groups you want to tell us about, Chris? Anything for you?
No, I'm not on them. Just on the back of what Deryll's just said, I mean, the nice thing with PGMOL as well, working with the University of Gloucester, there's an opportunity there to get a degree in personal and professional development because it's all about development. But I'll let you into a little secret. You talk about mixing with people, getting a balanced view, listening to what other people say about your performance who are not in refereeing. I actually, prior to the FA Cup final in 2010, went to my county FA and took my mate with me and reffed a match for 20 minutes on my own with no players while he watched me.
Yeah, you've got to tell me more about that. How does that work?
You just run round a football field, making decisions, pointing for a penalty, pointing for a corner, indicating for a throw-in, running around, just movement, running backwards, just to have a look, just to say, yeah, you where you want to be. It was just somebody looking at me going, yeah, you look like a ref. It might sound a little bit crazy, but let me tell you, it worked for me. Never too embarrassed to get a different view from someone else on what you do.
Is that like part of getting in the zone, getting yourself prepared, part of the match preparation for obviously a big occasion?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd probably refereed over 500 matches, did a pre-season friendly, and again, and got a friend to come because I was struggling with a bit of positioning as a referee. I'm vastly experienced. I said 500 games, and I've got somebody to come along just to watch what I was doing and help me because I was always prepared to learn, always prepared to listen, just to make sure that I could get better because there's always somebody out there who can help you, and it's not necessarily in refereeing, as Deryll alluded to earlier.
I like that.
Do you know, it's really strange. I had when I was first doing some youth games, and my nan came along. My nan used to come to loads of my games, and I lived with my nan for ages. So, you know, and she used to come to my games. And I never forget, she came off one of the games and she said to me, you know, there was a free kick you gave at the end, and you gave it to this team, but it was that one that was pulling him. And I remember thinking, what do you know about refereeing? And then, you know, actually thinking back on it, it's really interesting that my nan, who knows nothing about football, who was basically standing there just to be a bit of support and just to come and watch, was like, actually, from that angle, it didn't really look like that. And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But then actually thinking back on it, it's if my nan can stand there and think, well, actually, that might have been a foul, then there might have been something in it. And actually understanding that bit of, okay, other people, even if they don't have that same level of knowledge of the laws of the game, there's other people that could help you in so many different ways. And it may just be something that you think about, in you know, as you progress. And it's always stuck with me, that, and you know, I've loved it really.
Nans do always know best, Deryll.
Yeah.
My nan she definitely always knew best, my nan. Chris, you touched on social media, and actually you may have noticed the various social media channels for the PGMOL going along the bottom of the screen. You're on social media now. Of course, you could never have gone on social media whilst you were refereeing. How have you found it going on after?
Do you know what? It's been amazing. Obviously, I've been talking about this for a long time, and I think there's a real opportunity with social media for PGMOL, and I think they've got something over 3,000 followers now on Twitter, and it's everything apart from 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon discussing decisions. It's not about that. It's about telling everybody what we do, why we do it, where we do it, what's involved, how we can help, how we can support, and it's everything that surrounds refereeing. And as I said, the big thing with our social media is about improving the perception of match officials and making it more appetizing. And let me tell you, the followers are jumping up every day on Twitter and Instagram. And there's a real interest out there about refereeing. And it's a great way of showcasing, because it's the modern way of communication now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I followed you this morning, Chris, before we came on and did this, and I have to tone down my referee tweets in future weekends now. Deryll, have you've got social media? Is it something you utilise, or something? I suppose it would be something that you would look at now rather than use from a refereeing perspective.
No. Do you know what? I use it quite a lot to try and educate some of the people around the local area. And given that I have a position, you know, of referee development officer, I find people are quite receptive to understanding things if they're put in a certain way. And I think I get tweeted with videos all the time asking, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? And I think and I do respond quite a lot. And I'm very careful with the way I respond. I try and respond with the understanding of their frustration, because sometimes you can see the aspects of where they might be a bit aggrieved, but also giving them a little bit of an insight into why the referee might have given a decision. There was one really, like, came in from a corner, jumps up, looks like he's jumped up towards the keeper. The referee disallows the goal. It doesn't necessarily look like the keeper's got possession of the ball. And just going back to them and saying, actually, the angle that the referee might have had may have looked like he'd gone into the keeper, and that's caused the foul. And they came back to me and said, actually, we didn't even think of that. And being able to discuss some of the decisions, which is great. But then the other parts of it, and, you know, I make no apologies or secrets in that I really try and showcase some of the good work that we do at London FA, when I was at the AFA as well, and even the RAF Youth Council when I was there, because the more people know, the more people understand. As you know, Chris has alluded to with the PGMOL's Twitter and Instagram. I think actually not too long ago, I actually messaged Chris saying, actually, I thought the work the PGMOL were doing online was really positive. And I think that's where actually gaining an understanding and being able to say, this is what we do, this is how we do it, these are things that our match officials think about. People then at that point go, yeah, you know what, I might try that refereeing. And there are people who've contacted me, you know, on our email system on a Monday. There are people always asking to be referees, always asking to go onto courses. So although we have a situation where we have a little bit of a shortage, it's one of them things where actually, if we're able to showcase the positive stuff that refereeing does, then that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, it's that transparency, I guess, because as a football fan, I've always been there and thought, why don't the referees come out and talk after games? But once it was explained to me, a referee actually on TV or radio or wherever it was, I heard it came out and explain why they don't do it. I understood it, but it is great to get those levels of transparency, isn't it, Chris? And have so many referees now involved in the media, and because you never used to get the opinion of ex-referees on TV. Is that something you've liked?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I have the opportunity to do that every Monday down at Stockley Park for the Premier League, and it's educating. It's telling people why people make the decisions, what the thought processes are. But just come back to the social media, I think from my point of view, it's about telling our story. I think recently we did a little interview with Jared Gillett, who did his first Premier League game, and it was really well received. That was something that was really positive. I think recently we saw Peter Banks up at Burnley referee Burnley Tottenham, or should have refereed Burnley Tottenham, and unfortunately the game fell victim to the weather. And Peter did an interview for Sky Sports News, and again it was really well received. And I think it is about putting our people up there in the right circumstances. I think we've had referees in the past who've spoken to the media when they've clarified points of law. But sometimes I think if you go on TV and look at something and say, I've made a mistake, where does it stop? Referees make mistakes in games, players make mistakes in games. It's natural. That's life. That's what happens. So I think sometimes it's a good thing to do, and sometimes it's probably best to stay out the way, because it can just fuel the fire. And the end product, well, there is no end product with it.
Just on the human side again, Chris, with you now having social media, do young referees come to you? Do they ask you questions? Do they ask you for advice? I mean, I'm not trying to get you bombarded here with loads of people coming to you, but is it something that happens and something you're happy to do?
What I've noticed is I don't really get bombarded with questions, but there's a heck of a lot of interest in what we are doing. Because people wouldn't know that our match officials are quite literally all over the world refereeing high-profile football matches. They probably don't realise that our schools team are all over the country going into schools and speaking to young people. And it's all the other stuff we're doing, with the RA. We have guest speakers here, there and everywhere. Our referees are out telling the refereeing story, and it's just giving people a platform to think, you know what, I'm really interested in that. I'm really pleased that person came along, because some of the plaudits we get and some of the thanks we get for people attending events is massive. And as I said, one of the things for me is the schools program is amazing, and the fans forums again is just telling the referee's story. That's where we're at, and hopefully that will increase even more and more. And as Deryll said, he sent me a message, and we're really pleased with the way it's going, because referees are human beings, Dan.
Yeah, no, I'm coming to realise that, Chris. I am coming to realise that. I want to ask you about the schools, actually. What is that about? What's the aim with this?
Well, what we did was we pulled together a number of match officials who were ex-teachers, and we devised a couple of lessons, help the ref and feel the game. And I think help the ref is something where our refs can go into schools, talk to kids who are key stage 2, so obviously junior school, and we give them a bit of a presentation, and we get them to get involved and design things for referees. And the winner obviously gets a prize, but it's having the opportunity to get a professional person in school who's from the refereeing family. We've actually got some match officials as well who aren't contracted who go into schools, and the feedback we receive from that is brilliant, because there's nothing like going in and leaving a legacy and leave some tangible gifts in there. And we've got a poster with the values of PGMOL. So I'm really pleased to be heading that up, and the people who are involved, the match officials who are involved in it, absolutely love going into schools, and so do the kids. It's great.
When you say they're making or designing things for referees, what kind of stuff is that?
Oh, well, we've had a laser on the end of an assistant referee's flag for offsides. So there's a starter.
Like yes.
Yeah, and they're very into designing watches that do everything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And they do love designing a kit. They do love designing a shirt, different colours. I'm not sure they get approved, some of these. But yeah, they've got some fantastic ideas, the kids. It's brilliant.
The vanishing spray didn't come from the kids, did it, Chris?
No, they like having a look at the vanishing spray. But that's, by the way, that's worked really well, hasn't it?
I've actually got one somewhere. I got sent one. I don't know where it is. I've got one somewhere in this room.
You can't find it, can you?
Yeah, that's vanishing. Yeah. Deryll, is that something you'd like to do as you progress, get involved with the younger generation, get involved with the schools and try and just show them as a role model yourself what you can do and that there is so much opportunity out there?
So it's a big part of our future project. So one of my colleagues, Shannon at London FA, she's been contacting schools, universities, colleges, and we've arranged a lot of times where we go into the schools and just talk about refereeing, just to get people understanding a little bit more about officiating, and I think the thing is, when we're able to give people that understanding, that education, people then go, okay, actually, it's not exactly what I thought. And, we're really lucky to have a really, really engaging group of tutors, referee educators and referee developers who are really, really engaging, enticing, they're thought-provoking, but it also gives that the candidates, the people in the schools, the people in the organisations who are maybe having a second thought about whether they should or they shouldn't, gives them that opportunity to be able to say, yeah, let's do that. That's fine. Actually, we will officiate, and we will do that because of the engagement that our tutors and our referee educators give them.
You talk to me a little bit about your role on a day-to-day basis, Deryll. What's a day in Deryll's life like?
So, I think sort of goes in different areas. I mean, so towards the beginning of the week, it's more about the fallout from the weekend. So there's some referees who might need a bit of support, some referees that might be wanting to discuss some of their performances, some of the reports that come out. So generally on the Monday and the Tuesday, I'm sitting down sort of with a lot of match officials discussing that. Throughout the whole week, we've got referee courses, so I organise all the referee courses for the whole year. So we're really at the moment focusing on the next half term and the half term after that to be able to put as many courses in that area. So I think about what areas we can do that in, what areas we need to strengthen in, and also where's good places to go. And then CPD, so thinking about what we can do CPD wise. So whether that's an online session, whether that's workforce based, or whether that's with referees. I think one of the things that we're looking to do, actually, which sort of ties in with the PGMOL a little bit, is to get a Premier League referee to come down and speak to our match officials, because that inspiration that they can give, as Chris has alluded to, when they go into the schools, but also to their colleagues that are match officials that are thinking, yeah, actually I could progress, that will help us as a county be able to deliver a message that we might not be perfectly equipped to do, but they might be able to do that within 5 minutes of just sharing a little bit of their experience and being able to let people understand that they've had bad experiences, but this is how they've maybe bounced up from it or bounced back from it. But really being able to do that. So I mean, a mixture of that, and then there's a load of other things, but some of it's a bit boring, so I won't bore you with them. So.
No, it's all really interesting, and we're coming to the end of the session, or the end of our time together talking about this now. Chris, I just want to know, before you leave us, how much has everything is very broad, how much is refereeing and the PGMOL, how much has it developed over the last few years? Because everyone always talks about the growth of the Premier League and how massive it's become and how different it was from when it started. How much has refereeing changed now?
Oh, refereeing's changed massive. I mean, if you think about 2001, I became a full-time referee. There were 24 of us, and I think there was 3 people in PGMOL. Now you've got a full backup program. You've got support mechanisms in place, coaches, mentors, medical, physical, psychology. It's all there for you. It's fantastic. But what I would say is, with regards to starting out on your refereeing journey, and this is my piece of advice, is just be the best you can be. And I mentioned at the very beginning, I spoke about my dad. His ambition was to referee with 2 assistant referees, and he achieved his goal. And I think what you've got to be is, you've got to be realistic, because not everybody's going to referee the World Cup final, but just be the best you can be. And the other thing I would say is, enjoy your refereeing, because I'll tell you something, when you sit down and stop, time to reflect, you think to yourself, do you know what? I did.
And Deryll, this is your chance. Ask Chris one thing. Is there anything you want to ask Chris before we go? I'm pretty sure I've absolutely killed you there.
Was it you that sent off Eden Hazard, Chris?
For kicking the ball, boy? It was I.
It was. I thought it was.
Yeah, that was me.
Well, no, I mean, under situations like that, and obviously you have to talk about that specific incident, but situations like that where there's a very unorthodox situation, what would your advice be to some of the referees that are going through that have a situation where they might not be 100% sure about what's happened, but what level of control and what things did you do to sort of just think about, okay, this is how I'm going to deal with this situation?
I think it's all about taking your time. I think first and foremost, you have to know, but more importantly, you have to understand the laws of the game fully. Read the book back to front. You've got to know exactly what you're doing. And I think in certain situations, it's about being calm and being in control. I used to have a fantastic ability to look calm and in control, but underneath my stomach was I was going bonkers inside. But it's about just relaxing and taking your time. And you'll see the best referees. Somebody always said to me, the best players have got time. If you look at the top referees at the moment in England, they don't always automatically blow the whistle for a penalty. You'll see a delay. And what they're doing is they're running it through their mind. They're taking a still photograph and they're thinking, yes, I've seen that, and blow. And I've had an opportunity to explain that to the media. And it's been really well received. So the advice, Deryll, is take your time. Think about what you're doing, run it through your mind, and then make a decision.
Really good advice. Thanks ever so much, Chris, and thanks to you both for talking to me today. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fascinating for me getting involved in something like this because I've never done anything like this before. So breaking barriers, as always, delivering a great session featuring some inspiring leaders making waves in officiating. So do look out for details on future sessions coming your way. Also, as I mentioned before, please keep an eye out for clips from today's session on social media. You can follow the PGMOL on Twitter and Instagram. Just search for @FA_PGMOL, and please do share the words of wisdoms to amplify the advice and messages from today. Thanks again to the guys, and thanks to all you for watching as well. Let's continue to feel confident and speak out about the need to embrace diversity. Cheers.